Welcome to this channel. Today I'm going to speak about Scots. I was a minute about the noble late of Robert Burns when I casually went back to an old preference of mine, the online Scots dictionary, which is part of the homepage at scotsonline.org. When I long ago decided it could be interesting to learn a wee bit of Scots, it was a major help for me. It was a place to consult whenever I wanted for a word in some text. It did not only overset the word, it also tells me how to use them, with all the expressions you could ever wish for. Then one day it suddenly became middle lambsam. In fact, so slow that I thought it had died and only the empty shell was left. Well, it was not dead, it just seemed so. It had become a zombie. Short sign ago, I tried again, and lo and behold, it was functioning again. It's tidy as in the good old days. Hooray. And in the tween I had survived by using my small Scots dictionary from Edinburgh. The essential green one and the Scots gem from Collins, but they could not replace the marvel from the Scots Online, so now I'm blithe again. I did not say that you only need a dictionary to learn Scots. I haven't learned it yet. Here in Denmark, you diner here in Scots, and measured in hours the most important part of what I've heard is been a Collins speaking about his willy and drugs and little old ladies falling out of buses. But the result will sound anyway like any living Scotsman, so I hope that you will bear with me. At least I tried, and very few parents even tried to take Scots seriously. And after all that, Connolly, it can also be a wee bit difficult to imagine Scots as a vehicle for boarding serious statements. So, enough Scots, at least of that kind of Scots. Scots is a little difficult to define. If Scotland had been an independent country, as some want it now, then it would surely be quite different from ordinary English from down south. But those two countries have merged, and what we hear now in Scotland will mostly be English words with Scots pronunciation. That's why Bill Connolly, for instance, he doesn't really speak Burnsian Scots. He speaks, as far as I have heard, some kind of Glaswegian, with mostly English words and a lot of swear words. That's what it makes it funny. Learning such a thing like Scots is difficult, and why did I do it? For the same reason as I have worked a little with the Low German, Plattdeutsch, because it is there, as they said about Mount Everest. It's a funny sounding variant of English, but it's also something to take seriously. Of course, I could also have studied, say, Caribbean English, but Scottish is nearer to Denmark. The internet is my prime source for texts in Scots. For listening, it's difficult, and therefore I know perfectly well that what I did a little ago was not Scots. It was not Scots. It was it was more Scots when you look at the vocabulary than much Scots you hear in Scotland. But it was definitely not something you will hear in the streets of Aberdeen or Glasgow or Edinburgh. Well, I tried. That's the best thing you can say about it. About the homepage I was referring to and the dictionary. The homepage is scotsonline.org, and it has got two dictionaries, a dictionary English-Scots and a dictionary Scots-English, and it has got a lot of text, not the only text you can find on the internet, but a good collection and links for other sources. You can read some treatments about Scots grammar on the internet, very few, but for instance they have a tendency to use the participle in situations where ordinary English, as you could call it, will use infinitives. There are a couple of things like that. There are some typical sounds. They have a tendency to draw out some words. For instance, the first time I arrived in Edinburgh, at the castle, and it was closed, and I asked a soldier there, when will this castle open, in my best school English. At 9 o'clock. Well, I hear that in my head still after. Well, it was in 74, I think. 74 or 3. And I still hear that Scottish answer, because it was very different from what I have heard of English before. And that's one good thing about learning such dialects or related languages, whatever you call them. You get a feeling for the amount of difference within a language or circle of languages. You get a feeling for variation, to become more adept at tackling new variations which you haven't heard before. I would also say listening to English is a bliss for me, because it is different. Listening to broad US southern dialects is very interesting. And when I've heard some Caribbean English, I walk around saying that is in my head instead of that is in my head. It's contagious. I have the same thing with Low German, as I told you. And I have made a Low German video before, as some of you have noticed. It is the same situation, but with one difference. In Scotland, most people speak very clearly with a Scots pronunciation. Although they speak with English words, they use a Scots pronunciation. Well, in those parts of Germany where you had Low German, people don't speak much like Low German. They say moin when they leave or when they come, but we do that in Denmark also. So I would say that Scots has a stronger position, but there are more books in Low German than in Scots. I have tried to buy books in Scotland, in Edinburgh and in Stirling, and it was very limited what the Scots editors have put on the market in Scots. I think they like money, they stick to their money, and they have found out that it may be easier to sell books in normalized, standardized, southern Sassenach English, which is a pity. But I do my best, and that's what I can do. Goodbye for now.